there are so many elements to Star Wars. Were you guys upset at all that we didn't get any look at Han, Luke, Leia?
Smart.
Totally
smart.
the right move. Totally the right move, because it's funny, I know that some of our colleagues have been like, I'd be more excited if I saw that. I don't think so.
Were you surprised, though, that they weren't in it?
No.
In hindsight? No, okay.
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's J.J. Abrams. Come on.
They're saving it for the full trailer.
They're saving it for the full trailer. But not only that, I think he's really trying to say, this is Star Wars. This is the Star Wars that I love, that you love, that everybody loves, but it's also new. Yeah. And these are the new people in it, and it's going to be different, like, boom, right away. Like, who is this guy? Is he masquerading as a stormtrooper? Is he a stormtrooper that turned against? Why are there still stormtroopers? What is going on?
Why is there this crazy lightsaber, everything.
And he's so good at that, and he's, of course, obviously he's not going to show us the villain. There's a lot of theories about who that may be.
And that was Andy Serkis's voice in the
in
the trailer. There had been some uncertainty, but it's official. It's Andy Serkis.
I got theories, but I don't want to get too deep into him. But I think Andy Serkis is like an Emperor-esque character who will show up for a little while, and he is, and then you've kind of talked about maybe Adam Driver being like the unstable guy that you see in the woods. Just the way he moves is kind of Adam Driver-esque. But I think that might be the two, that might be the two Sith. Or there could be that whole, Sith worship thing going on that people are talking about.
I do like that rumor, and that would kind of explain somebody building it themselves. It's like if you're a devil worshiper, it's not like you can run out to the Antichrist store, and, it's not like the Apple store.
He's a Star Wars fanboy inside of Star Wars.
That's right.
I feel like... Yeah, I have a theory on that too, but I almost don't want to say it because if it's true, I feel like it would ruin it for me to even say it.
Well, now, another thing about the trailer is that it definitely showed a mixture of the kind of the more practical tech and visual effects and the obviously CG effects. It looked like a very lived-in world, even right down to Daisy Ridley's character, the sort of speeder bike that she had, and it looked like it was almost cobbled together because you can see in the background all the remnants of pod racing stuff.
Yeah, Chris and our colleagues, Chris and Daniel, who did the rewind for the trailer, mentioned maybe that's kind of a little very subtle, jab saying that's put to bed now.
Well, Kyle Watson, our video producer, and I were kind of joking the other day that maybe pod racing fell out of style or after Jabba died.
Right.
That, if you're the gangster and you're making money off this whole thing, or, maybe too many kid pod racers got killed doing it, or once you find out your champion was actually the Hitler of your universe, you stopped. It seemed to fall out of fashion.
I feel like number one is the most practical one.
Yeah.
Right. Seriously, because they don't care if the kids died or if he became the Hitler
were slave
of the
kids.
They were slave kids. I'm just saying it's probably there's financially I don't feel motivated by it anymore.
Now you have a very cool you had a very cool conversation today, an interview with Mr. Oscar Isaac, who we see in the trailer as an X-Wing pilot. That was another sweet bit in that trailer, seeing them skimming the lake and just in the real world environment. What can you tell folks about the interview that you've posted on the site?
Yeah, he was lovely. So Oscar Isaac is going to have a big couple of years. He is not only in Star Wars, but he plays Apocalypse in X-Men. We talked about both Star Wars. We talked about a lot of things. Kind of the importance to him as an actor of returning to those practical effects and what it means for them on set. But also, he noted that if you rely too much on the most current technology, then those films can date really badly, which I thought was an interesting perspective because it's true. And I guess I hadn't even thought about that as being versus when you have practical real effects, that it can feel a little more timeless.
Yeah.
I think that's honestly why fantasy movies from the 80s feel really good to me. It's oh yeah, this is fantasy world that I can believe, as opposed to something like Aragon, which is just everything's made out of light and pixels,
And
and
green
it
screen.
feels that way.
Yeah.
Certain movies don't. Like, I feel like the original Lord of the Rings trilogy did a really good job mixing, and a lot of it felt really real.
Whereas now
Well, I
in The
think this will
Hobbit,
be
yeah.
probably a good mix too. But yeah, he said that in terms of, I was like, did you do any simulator training or anything to fly that thing? And he was like, no, but Harrison Ford, before they started production, that he talked to him, which I thought was interesting that they were talking before they started production. Because to me, I was like, oh, what kind of relationship do you have in this film that you're talking to him before you even start shooting?
The wheels are turning.
The wheels are always turning, people. And so he said that he was like, anytime you want to come flying with me, you can. Maybe because you play my son, I don't know. He did not say that.
Maybe,
he did not
maybe
say
because
that.
you play my son.
He did not say that. That's me.
By the way, he didn't do it. Why didn't you do it, Oscar Isaac?
No.
Yeah.
He said that their schedules just never matched up. That he was able to do it. They're all busy, and so. But then he was like, well, it's space, and so the rules are a little different.
Can you imagine? God forbid, but I'm just saying, I'm going to go to a dark place here. What if the plane crashed?
Oh, my Lord.
And Han Solo and Oscar Isaac go out to
I'm not going to the dark side.
Yeah, I don't want to go to that dark place.
I'm just saying that. Just imagine that. Maybe that's why he didn't do it.
Somebody's
going to think of the trilogy, people.
Someone's got to think of the future, which I think Oscar Isaac represents in the film. But also, he was like, I asked about sort of the feeling on set. He had talked before that they made them more messy, these characters, and more fiery. And I'm like, well, does that mean just more nuance? He's like, well, if you think about Han in the originals, like, he didn't give an F. I know I can't say it, but he said the word. Yeah. He's ad-libbing and things like that. He said it feels similar to here, that it's looser, sort of looser vibe on set. He talked a little bit about the Boyega controversy, and he was like, well, that's a great place that if you're racist, it can come out right there. But he emphasized that it was awesome that the lion's share of fans really came out in support, and he said that Boyega was really good in this movie, which again got my wheels turning. I was like, oh, have you seen additional footage besides the trailer?
Oh,
and
I'm
he was
sure
like,
he must have.
He said no, just from what I saw on set. And so of course I'm like, so you work together.
You've got the whole movie piece
I've got
together
the
now.
whole movie piece together. And he.
When does Yoda come in?
When does Yoda come into the picture, Oscar? When does Yoda come? Yoda's Force Ghost come into the picture. Yeah, I mean, and he sort of just talked about, the sort of return to form that the movie, and the lightsaber. He was like,
awesome.
I think it's awesome. He was like, if
Did he
Darth...
say it in that voice?
No.
I think it's awesome.
That's
amazing. That's gonna be from here on out. Going to be my Oscar Isaac impersonation.
That's my.
I like
Muppety.
Star Wars.
I like Star Wars. He did. He told me the droids. Wait, that didn't mean. Damn it! I gotta. He dressed up as a droid as a kid for the holidays, which I'll have to add to the article that was looked at.
And you were saying, like, I mean, I think it would be the case of anybody who grows up in our generation or a generation right after us, like. You show up to set and there are people like Harrison Ford there, Anthony Daniels,
That's what he talked about. He talked about seeing them and how amazing, what a dream come true it was for him.
Just period. Can you imagine getting just a casual phone call from Harrison Ford like, hey, what's up? Want to go fly? I mean.
Are you holding?
Yeah.
Amazing.
That was amazing too. Yeah, so he said quite a bit about Star Wars. He also
awesome.
did talk about Apocalypse.
Did he say what kind of appealed to him about playing Apocalypse? Or?
He did. He was a big fan. He seems like he's
a geek,
he's
right?
kind of a geek.
He's an IGN reader. It was the first time I ever met him. He mentioned that he reads IGN, and he's a big gamer.
Yeah. He did talk about, he had talked about that he liked the Archangel storyline, and I was like, you play these characters that are pretty nuanced. I was like, what's it going to be like for you to sort of take on a character that is that myopic and genocidal in his point of view,
Yeah.
Not really, he's not really genocidal, but just like that drive to evolution if you're weak. And he said, well, that's interesting. It was part of his early conversations with Bryan Singer that sometimes what works on the page isn't necessarily going to work in a film. And he was like, there's nothing really gray about Apocalypse. I'm like, except his skin. And he giggled, which I thought was polite.
Did he mention the lips?
He did. We talked about Apocalypse. But he said, that they were really, he was going to be looking to find the humanity and kind of the spirituality, the spiritual core. And I was like, an apocalypse, And I'm like, I guess you mean the drive to evolution. Yeah, and he talked about just what Bryan Singer has brought to the franchise. He starts in April.
Nice.
April, not too
right
far
around
away.
the corner,
Not too
people.
far away.